In Photoshop, you can use all kinds of brush textures. In this case, I'm going to be using type to create some interesting type effects using these brushes as well as textures. And you can use them with many of the brushes available in the Tools panel of Photoshop. This is for PC and Mac. So let's just start right at the beginning, how to create an actual pattern design for your texture. Now I'm going to create a variety throughout this video. So let's just go here and horizontal type tool and just click document and just create the letter A. Very basic. Now you can change the color. You don't have to go with black. In fact, you could put it to red, green, blue. And I'm just going to do that. So let's just change that for a nice colorful one there. Maybe use a gradient. Use pattern designs within this as well. That would create some really colorful, interesting designs as well. But let's just make it as big as possible. So I'm just going to stretch it out there, transform it, and then press return. To define it as a pattern, you need to create a rectangular marquee around this, a selection. But also, to make it even easier to use, it's really good to remove the background. So I'm just going to move that there and the layers. You can see you've got this letter A there. You can select this and you can just click here and it's gone. Now you can delete it as well, but I want the background, so I'm just going to go back to that in a sec. So just here, rectangular marquee tool and select it. With that selected, I can then, don't have to select the whole thing, the whole document. I can just select a particular area, a very small area around it. You could maybe select even thin stripes of that letter A to create interesting designs as well. Well, go to edit and then down to define pattern, and that will put it into your patterns presets panel. You can find that in the window menu. You can find layers and brush settings. All those are all in the window. You can get all kinds of patterns via this define pattern. Just click there and then give it a name. I'm just going to go with what there and click OK. Now, what you can also do is, you know, so I didn't actually have to select it. That layer was not selected, but it still defined the whole thing there. You could also maybe add effects to it. So down the bottom, there's effects. Click that. Go for maybe bevel and emboss, just to give it a bit of depth there. Change that. Maybe go for a drop shadow and so on. And again, click OK and use that. Or maybe distort it, use effects. Just create all kinds of letter A's or B's or C's or D's or whole letters or maybe whole paragraph of text. All kinds of different designs can be created. So again, go down to edit and then define pattern. So define pattern, click OK. So it's stored away in the patterns presets. Now what you need to do is, I'm just going to undo this, just remove it and delete that layer. Don't want it anymore. So I've got this background layer. I can now use these brushes, and some of these brushes work well with texture. Some, even though the texture is available, doesn't seem to have that much of an effect. So be aware, not every feature works particularly in the way that you think it probably should. So let's just go for brush tool. So brush tool, I'm going to set here, I've got using round brush, just a very basic brush. You could use all kinds of different textures and brushes and things, but I'm just going to apply it. So now if I apply it like this, you can see that. How can I see that? Well, I can go over here to the brush settings, and this panel's packed solid with lots of features, loads and loads of features. I've done videos on this, different settings and things. They're all pretty powerful, but the one you want to click and select here is the texture. So texture there, makes sense, it's on, and then you can go here and you change the scale. But the key thing is, make sure you select the actual pattern that you've created. And that's one I'm just going to create, this one. So now if I apply it, let's go and apply it again. Brush tool, apply, and you can see you get that. Now the color isn't the same as the color of the pattern. You probably noticed that. The color is based on this over here. So you can change it to anything you want. Maybe you want to go for blue. Let's just go for that, a blue, turquoise, I should say. And you can see now when I apply it like that, it's in turquoise. That's using the brush tool. What you can also do is you can go over here and you change the scale. So let's just reduce the scale, and you can see then you get very small. So let's just go and create that, and you can see you can fill the entire screen. Now the great thing about this brush is that you can apply it locally. Now of course you could apply patterns to the entire document, maybe use masks to mask it out. But a real great way is by just using a brush. A particular area, you can apply just that area there. Maybe say, you know what, I want to change this, maybe go with a yellow or something. And over here, you can make like graduations of those letters going from A to B to whatever. You could change the brush. You don't have to go with A. You could go with B, C, and just keep changing it, change the colour, and have it drift off in different directions to create all kinds of Photoshop type effects very quickly using these brushes. And again, you've got here scale, and I've just reduced it down to very small, or you could have it very big. So you can see there, much bigger letters there. Also, you can modify the brightness, you can tweak it, you can see you can just change. Now, if you push the brightness too much, you can see you end up with this sort of a weird effect here. So you got that, and you can see you end up with the yellow sort of smearing into it as well, which is not what I wanted. So just undo that. So brightness, you just change that. I think it works something like that, fairly reasonable, not too high, not too low, something like that. But you can see you can just change these things, put it like there, and contrast. Now the contrast is the key thing. So you push it right down, you can see now you get this sort of paint effect inside there. I don't want that. I just want the actual pure letters. Okay, and the key thing also, height. Height seems to work the best. Linear height as well is pretty useful. Subtle differences, but I'm going with height. Texture, each tip, you can see a different effect there as well. It's up to you how you actually apply it. And you can see, just apply it like that, fill the entire screen. Also, you can do it to a layer. So a layer and new layer. Layers are great. You can move them around, reposition them. So let's just change the color again. So I'm going to go with red, say for this one, and apply that. So you can see you can make some like heat spots, put, real intense areas that changing colors maybe in a radial way or circular designs. So with this, I can now go here to the move tool and I can reposition this, move it around, duplicate it, go up to layer and duplicate layer, or hold down the Alt Option key and drag to duplicate that design. But also, about the layer, you can apply effects to them. So you can always go maybe to a layer and use it as a smart object, convert to smart object, or simply just apply effects, maybe go for blur, Gaussian blur. Now this effect, if you blur it, obviously if you then go and apply a brush again, let's just go and apply the brush again, paint the brush tool, you see that ends up blurred. This is ended up as sharp as obviously the original pattern was. And then you can reposition this, move this around, and also go to layers, go to effects down the bottom, and bevel and boss. So you give a bit of 3D effect there as well. So click OK, or a drop shadow, etc. And you can distort this. Also, another thing is you'll see one problem with this. If you go here to the brush settings, there's no option here. You've got scale, but there's no rotation or angle feature. But the workaround is by just doing it on a layer. Then you can simply rotate it and you end up with your letters there, obviously 90 degrees to what they were there. And you can repeat that and do it 180 or whatever, or flip it and so on. And move it around, and again, hold down the Alt Option key and just duplicate to build up some really weird and wonderful letter textures or type effects in Photoshop. So let's just remove all those now. And I just want to fill the screen, this image, I'm just going to fill it with white. So it's back to the start point. Again, brush tool, and you can then apply it. Now you can apply it in a straight line. Maybe hold down the shift, so click and then drag, but hold down the shift and you get this lovely straight line effect. And you can obviously then maybe apply it in green underneath. So let's just change the color. And now just click there, click, and again drag along, holding the shift key down. So you get straight lines of your letter A's. Again, just varying the color, red to green to blue to yellow, etc. And again, you can obviously vary the size and the scale and so on. Reduce it down like that. Okay, that's the brush tool. There's of course lots of combinations of things you can do. Texture here, you've got scattering. You can obviously use all these other options, but texture is the one that's most powerful. Photoshop can also use those brush textures in other brushes. Now, a really good one is this one. just go over here, pattern stamp, but you can use it also in a few others as well. Some seem to use it, but have no effect, so which is very odd. But with this, I'm just going to go with a soft round. I'm still using the blend mode of normal. Now you could use, of course, different blend modes as well to create even more interesting designs, combining things. But now I've got this, a colourful A there. So colourful A. And there's also an option here which I'm going to use in a short while. Impressionist. So be aware of that. Let's just go over here, texture. And I'm just going to select the same A, the same colour. So I've got that there and there. And there is a reason for this because I want to show you the difference. So I'm just applying it. Here's the A. You can see an A being formed there. And A there. And an A down here and so on. You can see you get a variety of A's appearing. But these A's are filling this space here. This A there. Well, what you can do, you can go here to the scale. Let's just reduce it down. You can see as you do it, it's very fine-tuned. So you're talking about 3%, 5%, very subtle differences, but to get a different result. And now you can see filling it, and you've got pink again there, filling that. And you can see you can fill that one there, and you can fill that with the A, and you can see it looks more like an A, doesn't it, there? However, let's just go and change this. And this time I'm going to use the A here, the black one. Now if I apply it here, well, what happens? That seems to go very weird, very, very odd. It doesn't have any effect. Nor do these, because you can see I've got here greens and blues. No response with those at all. It doesn't have any effect to it, which I think is a pity, but that's the way it works. Well, what you can do, let's just change it here. I'm just going to change that to an A. And now apply it. Now it does have effect. Now if I just change this to this one, I'm just changing it. So this one's the colour one, this one's the black one. And you can see now I've got here applied like that. So you've got this weird sort of unusual, don't want to move that. And also you can see the size of the A is slightly smaller, isn't it? You can see that. You can see it slightly smaller. Very weird sort of functionality in these things sometimes. But it still creates some very interesting designs. But you can see now I've got the A down there. And of course I can vary the scale. I'm changing brightness. It's all still using exactly the same as before. Actually saying that. Height. Linear height, height. There are subtle differences. Very subtle differences. And you can see then changing that. Let's just decrease that again. And you can see you can fill these A's with that. Well, what else can you do with this? Well, you can, of course, apply it on a layer. That's a real good workaround for an issue like this where it doesn't seem you can change the colours. So you've got these colours. Let's just, don't want to go that far back. Let's just fill this with white. Again, use a layer. So layer, new layer, put it on there, click OK. Again, pattern stamp and apply it. And you can see then you get this layer effect like that. That effect there. Maybe again change colour. Let's just change colour there. And you can see you can build up that sort of design. But what if you want it to be green? Well, it's on a layer. You can then, of course, manipulate it using, I think one of the best ways, probably go to layers. Let's just go to the layers. Simply go here with that selected. You can then go down to effects, down the bottom here, click here and go to colour overlay. And then you can set the colour. Obviously, it goes to the same colour as the other one. But let's just put it to green instead. And then click OK. And you've got now, let's just close that one as well. Close that. And you can see now you've got green. OK, you've lost the other ones, but you can use blending modes. So again, double click that, bring up the colour overlay. Maybe go here, darken, multiply, lighten, and so on. You can see you can create some interesting colour designs for your image there. So click OK. So that's a workaround for the lack of some colour feature to manipulate the colour, which I do not know why isn't available in Photoshop. However, what you can also do with the pattern stamp, let's just make sure I've got it selected. Pattern stamp, got this selected, got this set, all these settings, but also now I'm going to go for Impressionist. So click here, and now Impressionist. Colour Dynamics is available. If you click Impressionist off, it goes. That's one of my favourite features, Photoshop, colour dynamics. I love colour dynamics. So with that, now that's on, you can actually go there and you can change this and you can apply it. Now, the result is slightly odd, and you can see there, look at the colours changing. Doesn't look very much, does it, when you're changing those? Well, it works probably best. Say if you go here, maybe apply tip, you can try different settings here. But also you'll notice what you're getting. You're also getting this weird A. You can barely make out the A's, but it creates an impressionist effect. I guess that's what they were intending to do with this sort of type effect. So click that on, and then what you can do is go back to texture, and then you can change the scale. So let's just reduce it down to 2%. And then you can see then you get a lot more colour variation just kicking in when you apply it with the smaller, I think. But there's some colour options there available. Not particularly the greatest, but I think it's just, like I say, increase that, and you can see then you get this sort of effect. And then you get, obviously, out that area, you've got the black still coming in, but as soon as it goes over the letters there, you can see now you get a nice colourful effect kicking in there as well. So a variety of different options, all available via this Impressionist. Not perhaps the most amazing feature, but I think Pattern Stamp is definitely a really good tool to work with, and you can combine it with lots of different designs. You can also use multiple letters. You don't have to use just A. You could use ABC, 157, 238, whatever. Well, with this A, B and C, I've got a green, I've got black, and I've got yellow. I want to show that it doesn't actually use the colours. There's a few other variations it doesn't use either, but I'm just going to show this one. So with this here, you can see I can move around, resize. I'm just going to resize them a bit, make them as big as possible. Press return, and then again, hide the background, because what I want is a transparency. And so I'm just going to go over here, rectangular marquee tool, exact same as before, select this area. And I'm just going to select it like that. Make it as close as possible. Don't have to, but I'm just going for this. Again, edit, and down to define pattern, and you can store it and click OK. Okay, so once you've got this, I'm just going to go back, remove these, so I don't need those anymore, and now the background's available, select and deselect. Go to the brush tool. So in the brush tool, what you can do is you can apply exact same as before, and you've got here brush settings. Let's just click here, and you notice I've actually cleared these down. It got so many different patterns it ends up bit confusing sometimes when they're so small like that. So you can see selected here. Just select that. There's that texture selected, and you can modify the scale. And you can see as usually now. Notice what's happened. The A and the B are quite visible, but the C is not. It's very faint. It's probably there somewhere, but it's very, very faint. And you can modify the brightness. So you can see there, and there it is. Comes back in just as you push the brightness up enough, just to. You don't want to push it too far, but it just comes in. There, C is appearing. And now when you apply it, let's just apply it. Go over here, apply, and you can see the effect. Just pointing out that the colours make no difference. Now, the colours should come in other things, but in here, the colours, no effect whatsoever. But you will notice, of course, the actual brightness of things do. So you've got that one, they're slightly different, very subtle, but by showing the C, you can see what the effect of the C is. And just increase that, and you can see again, you can just about make it out, the C there, very faint. And of course, you can change colour, and you can apply it again. So again, you can create all kinds of typo effects. But also, again, you can go here, and you can tweak these other settings. Also, go invert as well. That creates an interesting sort of inversion effect. There's a load of options here that you can manipulate. Again, you've got all the various mirror options you can use as well. You can scale it. And again, let's just click the invert. Don't want that one on. Apply that. Again, it can be applied to a layer. You can add effects to it. So filters, all these sort of effects, maybe go for liquefy. So liquefy, just distort the text and then apply it again. So you can see, just distort the design, click OK. And this time, let's go and change the colour. Don't have to go with blue. Let's go with red. And again, apply the brush stroke there. And you can see, build up a fairly complex design with different type characters like that. And you can see the gap again between those, obviously, how you defined it in your pattern. Well, let's just go to the other one now, which is the other tool that's probably the best for this one, pattern stamp tool. So pattern stamp tool, again, got here, let's just select this. So select it here, and that's all we've got now. I've only got those ones, so just apply, and you can see that effect there. And you can see weirdly that the C is just about coming in. More becomes a sort of subtraction from the letters there. And you can see the A there and the B there. But this is filled with colour. The reason for that is it's Impressionist mode. If there was no colour there, that wouldn't be happening. So just turn that off, and then you get this effect. And you can see there, right, let's just undo that because it's out of the way. Again, these colours, because it's the pattern stamp, are not taken into consideration. So this time, let's just apply it. And you can see now, as you apply it, you get this weird effect. You got the A and the B, and the C sort of is kicking in there. You can just about make down the bottom there. It does create some very interesting designs by doing that. So let's just reduce that down, and you can see the effect there. Again, the A there, and the C and the B there. So you get the same structure of the letters there, A, the B and the C, but also you get them, of course, inside the actual letters. But you can see it also takes into account the colours of the original image. And of course, what you can do, you can also go for blend modes. Now, some seem to have an effect, some don't seem to. So let's just go for, say, difference and just apply it like this. And you can see that it just kicks in a little bit there. You can see difference does have some effect, but obviously the blue there and the yellow. So that is the texture added to brush strokes. There are, of course, lots more things you could do with these brush textures. This is only a real start point of showing you that you can use them in many ways. Some of the other tools, like I say, allow for textures, but they sometimes have some very odd effects, resulting that I don't particularly use them with the texture. Hope you found this of interest. Any questions, please let me know in the comments below. Always great to hear from you. And what are your experiences of the texture feature? Do you use it a lot? Do you use it with text and type? Is that a thing you've ever really thought about using? Because sometimes obviously people use it with, say, maybe a grain or maybe some noise effect or maybe some other, maybe a brick wall textures or whatever, or landscape textures, maybe grass and all those sort of things. But it can be used, as shown here, with some interesting designs with text. But it does have some very odd results from it, I think, personally. But of course, you can also combine it with all the other options as shown with the filters, and also with things like the shape tools. You can apply these on, obviously, shape designs and so on to create some really interesting imagery as well. Hope you found this of interest. Like or dislike, always appreciated. Also, please subscribe to the channel. Always adding new videos about Photoshop all the time. Bye.